Hi, this is Lori, and welcome to my series on adventures in soldering. This will be episode 15. It's been a while since I've done a soldering video, and when I started this series, I wasn't very confident in my soldering skills, and I really wanted to improve. And that's probably the reason why I haven't done many soldering videos since the number 14, is I kind of got where I needed to be. I'm certainly not an expert at soldering, but now I feel pretty confident I can do most through-hole soldering tasks without destroying the equipment or burning myself in the process. But I recently purchased this adjustable breadboard power supply from Adafruit, and it came as a kit. And I think there's some interest because I had it on one of my mail bags, I think, and some people said, "Oh, I'd be interested to see, how that works and so forth." So I'm going to show the soldering of this, and it's maybe a little conversational as I go along and do it. I do throw out a few tips and techniques that I've learned now along the way, and you're welcome to listen to that. If you don't, you can always jump to the end of this video. If you just want to see how this adjustable breadboard power supply works, I do a nice demo at the end so you can see how it works and how accurate it is. Well, I have this slide in all my videos, all the soldering videos I've done. I'm starting to feel like maybe I don't need this slide anymore, but I'm not an expert. I am experimenting at times. I could still not always be using maybe the best technique to do things. It's just the technique that has worked for me. So just keep that in mind. And here's the some pictures of the breadboard power supply kit fully assembled from the Adafruit website, and you can kind of see what it looks like. The board's a little bit different now. It's blue in color, but it's pretty much the same as you'll see if you watch some of the soldering videos or you go to the demo at the end. One of the things that's changed is this heat sink, so you can see the voltage regulator. That's sort of the heart of this board here. The voltage regulator, I guess, can get pretty hot depending on what kind of load you're putting into this thing. And so they have a little heat sink that you can slip on it. And this has changed, the style of this has changed from these pictures. So you'll see that as we go along, and I show it off in the demo as well. So here's what you get in the kit. This is how it comes. So you definitely have to do all the soldering. Nothing is put on for you. And this shows actually the version of the heatsink that they're selling now. I think when I went to look at it here, I want to say it's out of stock, and this is July 2025. But they point you to DigiKey if you wish to purchase it. So DigiKey still must have some of these kits available if you want to do one yourself. So you can see some resistors, diode, couple of LEDs, some capacitors, the voltage regulator, and some switches and some headers. So it's nothing too tricky. It is very compact, so you do have to be able to kind of work around and be comfortable soldering things that might be sort of close together. So I think at the end of this I said it may certainly doable by somebody who would call themselves a beginner, but I certainly wouldn't do this as my first kit. I would do something a little simpler, get some of those cheap kits from Amazon or AliExpress and practice there first. But you probably don't need to do 100 kits to get good enough to work at this level. Maybe a kit or two and you should be able to do this one. But it's a little more expensive, so you want to make sure that you're ready to do it and that you won't ruin anything as you're putting it together. All right, the last thing I'll say about the kit is Adafruit put together a really great learning guide to walk you through doing the soldering for the kit, as well as educating you about how the kit works, what each component's role in the circuit is. So it's a great learning opportunity to put this together and follow the guide as you go through. And I guess what's attractive about this breadboard power supply is that it's, got a little more functionality than some of the ones that you could purchase. Like typically ones you can purchase to use with your breadboards will allow you to switch between 3.3 volts and 5 volts, but that's usually the only two settings that you can do. And this one allows you to actually adjust it, and you can adjust from about 1.25 volts all the way up to within a half a volt of whatever you're bringing in as the input voltage. And you can bring in up to 20 volts. So that gives you a pretty wide range of being able to sort of dial in a voltage you might want for perhaps experiment purposes, that sort of thing. Usually 3.3 volts and 5 if you're working with Arduinos or Picos is fine, and you don't really need different voltages from that point of view. But if you're doing some experimentation, or you're teaching yourself like I am electronics by doing some textbooks where you want to dial in different kinds of voltages, this would allow you to do that onto a breadboard pretty easily. Well, that's an explanation of the kit. Let's get soldering. The first step in this kit we've discussed is to put on the DC power jack here, and it mentions that you could hold it with your finger, which I would never do, especially here. You can see these holes are really big. Usually I've seen elongated one that the little tabs will fit in, so I'm a little nervous that this solder is going to go down and meet up with this plastic. So there's no avoiding that. When you look at the instructions, they show filling this whole hole up if you can. And I have it pushed to the side, as I saw in their instructions, so that this one kind of connects close to there, and these connect to the top of those circles. So I'm a little surprised about that, but let's see. And now it's gonna be hard to get this super hot, but let's see. Let's try to do, I guess I'll do the one in the back here, and we'll try to catch this side on the front. And it's definitely going to be impossible to heat the whole. I'll make sure I've got this up. Oh, and I did want to mention, I'm sorry, before I got started, I did tape it. As I said, it said you could tape it, or you could use your finger. And I'm using Kapton tape. It kind of looks like this. It's a heat-resistant tape. Let's try to get in the view here. I bought a couple rolls of that, and you only need a little bit, and you can reuse a lot of it. Some people use blue tack to hold things on too. I do that occasionally now because I'm actually better at soldering, and I don't tend to overheat things. But if you're beginning at soldering, I don't know whether blue tack is your best friend to get started. All right, so let's try to get this baby done. Might need a little bit bigger of a tip, so we're definitely going to need to put a lot of solder in there. Now I got it connected on that side, so let's try coming around here and putting some more in. And you can see I'm really filling it up there. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to put on my smoke absorber. Let me go ahead and turn that on. That's something you notice right away. Is you need your smoke absorber on. So you can see the fumes coming back at you. Alright, that looked okay. Everything looks pretty flat. It looks like it's on. I've messed these up before, so let me try that again on the front part here. And I get it good and do it on that side. Okay, and then we'll try to fill in on this side. Put a lot in there. Alright, I think that looks okay. And we'll try to put this, I'll come in this way. Try to heat this component and feed in the solder at the same time. Okay, I think we got a lot in there. Let's try to put some more on this side. Yeah, I think I got a lot in there. Alright, let's turn that off. Let's flip this over. And I'll pull it back to the center a little bit for you here. And hopefully you can kind of see, it's something to point with here. Use a little pencil. Maybe you can see that it's filled all the way through here, and it's filled all the way through here as well. So I think I got a good amount. It definitely suggested making sure this makes good contact, so I think that's okay. Alright, let's go on to the next step. Alright, it's time to put the diode on, so I have it right here. And if you look at it carefully, there's kind of a gray, or they say white side. And they said as well that there's a white stripe right here for where it goes. So we will put that through so that our stripe matches the stripe on the PCB. And we get it down pretty good, I hope. Yeah, it looks good. And I'm going to bring it around. I'm going to hold it with my finger a little bit and then bend these out a little bit so it stays. And then well, we'll solder that in place. So turn our fan. Alright. Take the wire, heat it up a little bit, and then throw some solder in there. That looks alright. I'll tilt it down just a minute here and make sure I kind of got it all the way around. I did. Right, I'm going to slide this up just a little bit so I'm not too close to the grip there of the vise. And we'll do the next one. Go in here and heat it up. And add some solder. Oops. There we go. One of the things I started doing was I got some advice from viewers that I need to kind of hold the iron on there just for a second or two after I've finished feeding the solder to allow it to go down into the joint. And that usually works pretty good, and you can often see if you did a pretty good job of it because you'll see some solder on the other side. So now you can just barely see a little bit on this side. It might be hard for you to see, but I didn't let as much flow through this one as I did through this one, but I think it's all good. And now we just get our flush cutters out and take that off. Take that one off too. Alright, on to the next step. Okay, next step is the switch, and you'll see that I clipped off part of the switch on that side because it kind of bumps into everything. So I think I'll clip off this other one as well. Could try to bend it down, but it's pretty strong. I don't know, let me try bending it. I clipped one side off, and let's just see if we can bend it down here. I don't know whether I'm going to be very successful doing that. Yeah, no, that's not bending very nicely. I think I'm just going to clip it. I think they must have changed the style of this. Let's see, I want to clip it last time. There it goes. Alright, so now it fits better into the spot. I don't know, hopefully that wasn't a mistake. And it goes right in here, so I'll just put it there. And yeah, it sits. This is a time where I could use some blue tack. So blue tack's just poster tack. And I think that's okay because what I'm going to do is just stick some right here, not touching the board or any of the metal, you know, these metal posts, and just try to see if I can get it to hold up in there like that. I don't tend to melt it, but that's usually what happened when I was beginning and I was trying to use blue tack, like all the good YouTubers I'd seen make kits, and then I was like, or they use their finger, and I'm just so clumsy. I'd end up burning myself, and I don't really want to do that. Let's turn on our smoke absorber. And just double check and make sure it's flush. And then let's solder it on here. There we go. Get some flowing. That look good. Come on. Sometimes it takes a little while to get the heat going in the part. Yeah. I think that looks pretty good. And you can see, now this didn't get warm at all, so okay use of blue tack. And that's on pretty good, I think. All right, on to the next step. Okay, the next step is to put a resistor and a capacitor in. We're going to do R1 and C1 here, right over in this area. And yeah, I've seen people do this where you bend it like this because it's not really enough room to lay the resistor flat. So we'll be bending it like that and then putting it in. And so I'll go here. And of course resistors aren't polarized, so it doesn't matter what direction we put them in. And we'll slide that in right there. And I'm going to leave a little room so that I'm not right up to the top. I want to get the solder on the resistor itself. Probably doesn't matter too much, but and then I'm bending it back here, as you can see, to kind of hold it in place. And I have a little gap, so that works. And then the little capacitor we're putting in is also non-polarized. It goes right in here where it says C1, so we'll get that in there. And I'll also leave a little space for that one too. I'll let it stick up a little bit. And we'll bend it back. Just a little. Let me flip it around here. Make sure I've got a little space. Yeah, that looks all right. And we'll solder those in. Come in here. Push that one. And let's check it. Make sure it looks okay. Does, because when you're putting things in and you may need to adjust them, if you've only put in one of the legs, you can reflow it and adjust it. Like if I had wanted to adjust the height, I could have done that. So that's something I learned over time here, watching better people than me, and that's how I come and I take a look at the other side and just make sure everything looks okay before I do the other leg. Once you have both legs done, you know, unless you got a partner who's gonna flow the other side of it, you're gonna have a hard time making any adjustments without completely desoldering. Okay, I think that looks okay. Alright, let's flip these up and clip them off. Some people save these little leads, the little legs. They use it to make little, when they solder proto boards and stuff, they save them. I haven't really done much of that, but it seems like a good idea. All right, I think that looks pretty good. All right, our next step is to put in one of these electrolytic capacitors. And it is polarized, so the long leg is the positive leg. And then we're also going to put in the LED. And also for the LED, the long leg is the positive leg. And those two things, they go over here and in here. Oh, I guess that doesn't, there we go. Probably can see that a little bit better. Okay. So need to, and there's a little plus for the positive. So we'll start with that, the LED, slide it in, these teeny little LEDs. Push that on in. And you can see I switch my board around so I can work in that spot. So I'm gonna bend that back, bend that back. And then capacitor, we'll put the positive in the positive hole there. Slide that in as well. And we'll bend that back. And we'll bend that way. That should work. Alright, let's get some light on that so you can see. So there's the capacitor, there's the LED, and I'm going to double check one more time. The long leg went to the right spot. Let's go ahead and solder that in. And once we get these done, we can power it to see if the LED is working. So with LEDs, I like to get them flush, and they can easily wobble a little bit. So what you can do, this one looks pretty good. This maybe is a teensy bit dangerous, but you can reflow it and press it, then let go. I'm not sure I got that really pressed. And then it should be nice and flat with the board. So that looks good. So now I can do the other side, and I know it'll be good. So I'll go ahead and get this other side done. Alright. And we'll go ahead and put some on this one. Just sliding around a little bit there. We got that one fine. In here. Put that in there. I think I got that. Alright, let's go ahead and clip this off. Well, we ought to check. It's always good to check. So let's see, that looks pretty decent, and the LED looks nice and flat. So let's go ahead and clip it. And put this one up as well. Down. And pop this up underneath it. There we go. There we go. All right. So it's coming along. So now it says we can make a little test, so let's give it a go. All right, I got a little DC power supply. You can actually, it's a little hard to see, isn't it? Here you can see it has different voltages. I have it set for 9 volts. I'll plug it in here. And let's plug it into our board. And our board is currently in the off position, so let's try that first. Plug it in, and let's turn it on. Hopefully our little light came on. It did. All right. So I guess we've done that part of it right so far. Okay, next thing is the voltage regulator. And you can see, Yeah, it's kind of got this big silvery tab. That's to go to the back. And then it's got 5 little legs on it, and 3 are pushed forward and 2 are pushed back a little bit. So I'm going to set it into this spot right here. And try to get in there. It's a lot of legs to get lined up, isn't it? Oh, almost had it. There we go. And it said to go ahead and leave them up because we can put a heat sink on this. So I'm going to just have a little bit poking through. Let's see. Flip it over. And there you can see it. There's the little legs. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's get it on. All right. This side looks good. And this side looks pretty good. Let's just take it out so we can kind of see it go on there. Yeah, I think that looks all right. Okay, the next step was 3 resistors. We've already seen how we put them in before, but we have the R4 resistor here. Then there's the R3 and the R5. So they're in that same standing upwards approach. Looks good. Let's flip it over. See if they look all right. Yeah, they look okay. A little hard to see with the light, but yeah, I think they look fine. Let's clip them off then. The nice thing about the instruction is it gives a lot of details about what each of the components do in the circuit. So I definitely recommend this for learning. It's probably still a little above my electronics level, but it does tell you the purpose of each component as you're putting it in, which I really appreciate. All right, our next step is to put the 3-way switch that'll allow us to select between 3 volts, 5 volts, and adjusted. It's got quite a few little legs on here, pretty close together, so it tells you to be careful. There's only one way it's going to go in, so can't get that wrong. It's always nice. And I'm going to use a little bit of my tape. Slide it up here and just going to try to tape it into place here. Okay, that seems pretty secure. Flip it around. Get it upright. And here's the little spots we're going to be going for. Oh, I think I did an okay job at that. It looks pretty good right in there. And yeah, let's pop the board out. Take a look at the joints on the side here. So there they are, right in front of my finger. See if we can bring them to light a little bit. Oh, it's hard to get this to show them, but yeah, I think everything looks good. So we can take this off and see that in case we need to hold anything else in place. And I think it's on nice and flat. Okay, we got a lot of pieces to put in. Kind of working all this side of the board here. take it off. It's in here pretty tightly. Hopefully I'm not breaking anything. There we go, getting it out. Alright, that looks pretty good. So go ahead and clip all these off. And okay. Kind of a little bit careful. Always, people don't see me on the screen, but I always have glasses on, safety glasses. So yeah, if you do this sort of thing, you want to make sure you protect your eyes. All right. Well, there we go. Well, I realized I forgot to press the record button as I was putting the last two components on, the trim pot and the little header block here. So they were here and here. It came out all right. And now we're ready for our little headers that we'll put here and here so that this can mount into our breadboard and supply the power. Last step. Well, our last step, as I said before, was to get the little headers in here. So they gave us a nice long amount, but you just have to clip off a couple twos. And we'll just put them in a breadboard like that. And then we should be able to set this right on top and solder them in. Yeah, like that. There's a couple extras that they mention in here if you don't have a standard breadboard and you're, wanting to customize it to some sort of special situation. But yeah, I tend to use standard breadboards, so that's what we'll do. This is the heatsink that I guess will fit on here. I don't know, I haven't messed around with it yet. Let's do this last little bit. And slide this into the center here. And put this down good. Make sure this is good and in there, because that's going to take a lot of friction coming in and out, I think. All right. Okay. Give it a quick second to cool down, but I'll bring it up so we can take a closer look at how it all came out. Oh, not too bad. It's a little rusty. Well, let's see if we can get it out of the board. Yeah, I think it looks all right. These are kind of a little cockeyed, it seems to me, but I think it's because the way the boards are spaced. But yeah. Well, now it's time to give it a try. Right, time to test our breadboard power module out. I'm going to start over here on this side. So I have my multimeter connected up into the breadboard using these cables. Hopefully it's good enough. And I have the board connected into an adjustable power supply that I can plug into the wall. I can go from 3 volts to 12 volts with this power supply that's connected in here. I can adjust it. So I think that'll be really helpful in testing this out and seeing how good it is. If you read the instructions, this side of the breadboard power module will provide power to this rail, and it will be whatever the incoming voltage is on this side. And then this side, we can use the three-way switch here in the center to choose 3.3 volts, 5 volts, or adjustable, which is then adjustable with the trim pot here. So you just kind of use a little screwdriver here to adjust it. So have that handy. But let's start with working with this side and seeing as we adjust. I'm pointing over here because that's where the power supply is. It has a little switch on the side, and I can select various settings. We'll see how well this side does. So let's turn this on. We'll turn on our power supply. Okay, and I have the power supply over here set to 12 volts right now, and that looks like what we're getting. So now I'm going to switch it down to my next setting is 9. Looks pretty good. And then I have a 7.5. Yep. Next is I think 6. Yeah, 6 volts. Then I have a 5 volt setting. Yep. And a 3 volt setting. All right, so yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to take it back up to 12 volts. So we can look at the other side. So let's switch this over to this side and see what we're getting over here. So I have this set, the three-way switch set to the 3.3 setting, and we're definitely getting 3.3. If I go to the middle setting of the switch, I should get 5. And then if I go to the adjustable setting all the way over, now I'm using this trim pot, so I have it fully all the way this way. So I'm getting the full 12 volts that's coming in from the power supply. And so now I should be able to use this to adjust it. So let me give it some very slow turning and seeing if we can adjust this. All right, not much is happening in the first part of this turn. There we go. It just started kicking in. You can see it's come down a little bit. So I'll try to turn it just... It seems like it's pretty sensitive. So it might be a little bit challenging to dial in a very specific number, but still looks like it's possible. As long as you're kind of careful. Yeah, I've got it down to about 6 now. And let's turn a little bit more, down to about 4. Let's see if I can get it down to about 3. Yeah, I was able to dial it almost to 3. And I think if I go all the way down, we get to about 1.2, 1.2, 4. Yeah, so that I think is exactly what it said it would be able to do. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. It seems like it's working well. It seems like it functions the way we expected it to. So I guess the soldering was good, and all. The last thing I was just going to show is this is the heat sink that can go here on the voltage regulator. So I guess if you're having some issues with it cutting out, they said that, you know, sometimes this can get overheated. So you can slide this on, and I just want to show that you can kind of pull this apart to loosen it a little bit. It has kind of like a little clip back in here. It slides over it, you push it on, and I guess if it gets too loose, you can kind of squeeze it, excuse me, and get it to, you know, to fit more tightly. And you can use that. The only downside of this is it kind of gets in the way of your three-way switch down here. So, I mean, I'm not going to put it on unless I have issues. And I mean, this is the power supply I'm most likely to use from here forward. So probably the most I'm ever going to put into here is about 12 volts unless I get a fancy laboratory power supply. But for right now, for the kind of work I'm doing, this little wall plug that lets me adjust the voltage coming in is probably all I'm going to need. So I'm really excited about being able to you know, dial in different voltages for, you know, some of the experiments that I've been doing. I've been trying to teach myself some electronics, and it's nice to be able to, put different voltages down on here where I'm trying to do some of those experiments from various textbooks and so forth. So I think I've got myself a nice solution to doing that. And it was a fun project. It wasn't a bad solder. It was pretty easy. There is a lot of pieces in here, but they're all through holes. So I thought it's definitely something that a beginner could do if you take your time and go very carefully. I would definitely recommend, since it was a somewhat expensive kit, I wouldn't start with this kit. I would get some cheap kits off of AliExpress or Amazon and practice with some kits that maybe cost $10 or less before you start doing one of these kinds of kits. But I don't think you have to be particularly great at soldering to be successful with this kit. Well, I hope you enjoyed this soldering kit, and as always, thank you for watching.